the DevOps and release management tooling options. If you're thinking about out of the box, you're building on Salesforce out of the box, and then you go down like a code route, like LWCs and Apex classes. Well, let's think about our tooling and our DevOps the same way. So, if you're admins, you're creating a few fields, that's out of the box, okay? And flows, it's low code, but it's considered out of the box as well. Then that you don't really need to be a developer to understand those things, okay? So same way for tools. If you don't have a developer and you don't know bash scripting and software engineering, then you're more likely going to want a tool, and a nice step up from change sets is something like GearSet, Capado, and AutoRabbit, and deployments is Click. Okay, so our ISVs have worked with the CLI under the hood, and they're doing all the necessary things to make that deployment happen. The other beautiful thing about our ISVs is that those particular products also work as IDEs as well, okay? And so Visual Studio Code is an IDE. So you do something in a sandbox, and then the particular tool like Capado, GearSet, and AutoRabbit will get those changes and do that migration, okay? And under the hood, though, they're using source control. You just don't quite know it, okay? But that's a really good first step. And there's other benefits of those tools they've already baked into their particular, it's not just about deployments. They've already baked in their particular tool, static code analysis. So running static code analysis and invoking, your automated testing and other things. So they're all doing the heavy lifting for you. So you can, again, get time to value by not having to invest in your own pipeline and not having to have the skills in the team for bash scripting and CLI. But if you're a bank or if you're a software engineering and you've got developers and you're inclined that way, I'm not saying banks can't use these tools on the left-hand side from our App Exchange products. But if you've got more a software engineering team there and you've got your center of excellence and so on and so forth, you might get down one of the enterprise tools already used in your organization today, such as your Azure DevOps or your Bitbucket pipeline, BuildKite, Jenkins, Atlassian's Bamboo. So all those kind of tools that are used in other technologies today, you can use those with the Salesforce CLI and create your own pipeline, and then obviously migrate your changes, whether it's your configuration or code from sandbox to source control, and then obviously source control to another sandbox and onto production there. Okay, so you might be thinking, I haven't really worked in enterprise. I've only got one sandbox, and I'm putting that out to production just by using a change set, and that's okay. Change sets are great, but I would recommend you put a test sandbox in between that, because you really want to test that deployment, that built version of your changes before going to production. But if you have a path to production like you see on the screen here today, you've got a dev sandbox, you've got a QA or ST, you've got a sit UAT or prod, a sit UAT and prod, PS is production staging, then you're going to get benefits in getting this CI/CD tool, whether that be an App Exchange product or an enterprise tool like Azure DevOps or Jenkins, because you're going to get efficiencies in that repeatability on the path to production, because you've got to deploy again and again and again. Okay. So we do have, I want to mention, obviously, Salesforce's other product that is in beta is called DevOps Center. I'm not going to share too much today about that, but if you have a look at Trailblazer DX, there was a session from our evangelist team on the latest changes to that. That's an on-platform, tool that would go on this slide once it comes out GA. Okay. And also if you go to the App Exchange, you click that solutions there when you get this deck, or you head over to the App Exchange and you search for deploy. There are more tools on the App Exchange. I just, don't have enough room on this slide like Flossom. So, my best advice is have a look at the App Exchange, have a look at these particular tools, get a demo from the particular ISVs. Now, just a question: do we have anyone from Capado or AutoRabbit here today? In chat, if you want to put in chat. Hi, Adam. I'm Alex from Capado. There we go, Maritinia. Brilliant. Welcome, Maritinia. Thank you for coming. Maritinia is here from GearSet. So, you can get her details, and Maritinia, you can put your details on there and chat there. So you can already chat and get her details and talk about GearSet if you want to learn more. And maybe we don't have anyone else from Capado, that's fine. But thank you for coming, and thank you for your brilliant tool for the Salesforce ecosystem. All right. So we've talked a lot about deployments and DevOps predominantly. If you're thinking about a crawl, walk, run, we definitely want to look at how we give our developers or deployment leads more time in the day to spend on building the features rather than deploying. Okay. But on your screen right now, there are many tools on the left-hand side, the developer space. There's many tools here that make us successful, increase our quality, increase our speed, increase our agility to be able to develop on multiple streams at the same time, okay, so that we can service our business and our customers, quicker and more efficiently, okay? But there are other tools. So we talked about sandboxes and Visual Studio Code and deployment tools such as Azure DevOps and GearSet and Capado, right? So, I know I only have Azure DevOps on this page, but you're going to have GearSet and Capado right next to that, okay? But there's other tools that we're going to look at and need as a developer, but also in the testing and operate as well. And that's all part of DevOps. DevOps is 3/4 of application lifecycle management. DevOps starts at build and it finishes at operate when we're operating. So let's talk about these other tools. Jira or ADO, Azure DevOps also has something called stories, work items, apologies. That's when we actually look at building our story out to document the business requirement and feature, so we get that and then we go build that. Confluence or Quip is a nice document collaboration. We'll go pull our documentation on there, okay? Something like Slack is good for chat. We're all virtual these days. Some of us go into an office. I do a bit of hybrid with my customer, but we still need to collaborate, and something like Slack is good for that as well, okay? If you're a developer and you're developing integrations on a sandbox, maybe request and response, then you might find an API simulation tool like Get Sandbox or Soap UI is going to be great for you. Mock up your requests and your responses for your request and response integration without having to connect Salesforce Sandbox to a downstream platform, okay? Because quite often, finite resources on your path to production, okay? Looking over to equality, looking at something like PMD. So there's something like the SFDX code scanner, which has two engines, PMD and ESLint, that's running code over your static files. So static is like on your PC, not running like Apex test units on Sandbox, just to get those low-hanging fruits, looking at the vulnerabilities or performance, making sure our code is going to be best practice. It's not going to fall over on large data volumes and so on and so forth. And also those particular things run within your ISV products, such as GearSet or Capado. They'll run the particular code scanning, the engine's PMD, and that's part of a good, I guess, pipeline, if you want to call it anything, okay? Now, Let's talk about test. Well, we're already looking at Apex unit testing for the code. That's a quality check. We're looking at PMD and ESLint being run by your deployment tool. That's a quality check. But let's also look at automating your regression testing, which is existing production features are working as designed without changes going out. And you can do that with something like Provar, Trashens, Tosca. Capado has a nice on-platform testing, automated testing tool as well. But there is lots of return on investment and business benefit, agility and speed if you do. I know it might not be your job, but you might say to the test manager, hey, have you thought about automating your testing, your regression testing? Well, Adam said that these tools, we should do it, and these tools are great, for the Salesforce platform, okay? And there are enterprise tools like Selenium as well that are widely used in our ecosystem today. But of course, we have ISV tools that are making a lot of our customer successful as well, okay? And thank you, Olivia, for joining. Say hi, Olivia, from Odasiva. Last but not least, a few things in the operate, and it also falls in the testing as well. So we've got, Salesforce has something called BNR, Backup and Restore. It is fairly new. I'm not too sure if it's a beta or GA, but if you want to learn more about it, ask your Salesforce executive. But we also have our beloved ISVs like Odasiva, where Olivia is from, and Own Backup. And again, on the App Exchange, a few other ISVs to do that backup and restore. Okay, so Salesforce has, Salesforce has and looks at your business continuity at an instance level. So we have 6 to 7 copies of your data, and should Salesforce fall over, then obviously we'll get an instance up within the SLAs. But if you corrupt your data, if you're doing a data migration or you have a road script that's done something, then obviously it's your responsibility. Salesforce is a platform as a service, software as a service. You've got to correct your own data. So having a backup and restore tool is super, super important, especially for the larger orgs. If you're a small business with one user, you might, the data, the export, weekly export wizard right on Salesforce platform would be great for you. It exports it to CSV and you can store that yourself. But if you're a larger organization, you're definitely going to need a lot more speed around that process, and it's going to be more objects and so on and so forth. And of course, these products have, it's in their DNA to actually have back it up and also do a restore, of many objects and relationships. Okay, but these products not only look at backup and restore, they also help with some of the testing as well. So you've got data seeding. So if you want to sample your sandbox with data, these tools do that as well. And also data masking. So if you create a full sandbox, you'll get all your data coming from production. But of course, we've got to look at PII and sensitive data. We probably don't want our build teams to be able to view that data. So you might mask it. And these tools do that as well. And also archiving back over to operate. So, if you have lots of data and you need to archive it, then of course those tools will, look at that archiving. There are a few native archiving options. So Salesforce has big objects, and that's great for archiving, taking it off the intelligent custom objects or native objects and bringing it over to a bit of a cheaper space there on big objects. But of course, if you want to take it off platform, you've got the tools to do it there as well. And last but not least, we've got, if you're looking at monitoring your users, okay, maybe the geolocations or how much they're downloading, Salesforce, along with Salesforce event monitoring, which comes with Shield, you can use something like Splunk to then look at insights about your users, baseline what they're doing, like how many reports do I download per day, or how many rows do I download? And maybe you want to get some alerts set up so that if you go outside those baselines, then your cybersecurity team will be alerted to say, hey, we flagged this, go have a check it and see what's going on there. Okay. And so that's insights about your users for not only adoption, but also your cybersecurity teams, on those security type things as well. Cool. So before we get into QA, I'm going to have a few links here for you to learn more and get more information online, always on demand. So the first place I want you to go to is Trailhead. Of course, Trailhead is the first place you're going to learn all about things like org development model and package development model, things about continuous integration, and also other things with app development on DX. Okay, so other places outside Trailhead, of course, we talked about the App Exchange products like GearSet and Capado. There's a link to the App Exchange. You click and you search deployments, Olivia, for backup and restore. You can search backup and you're going to find the tools over there as well. If you are going down an enterprise tool such as ADO, there is a pretty cool tool called SFDX plugin, my apologies, called Git Delta by Sebastian and Mehdi, who actually work for Salesforce, but it's the tool they created just to do a Git diff. If you don't know what that is, I've got a video on the next slide to learn all about that all those CI/CD scripting. Of course, the command line interface. So if you are deploying yourself using commands and bash, then of course there's the CLI there. Across to our architect.salesforce.com website, which is a pretty cool website. We do have a lot of material on governance, and we do have an article on there, Architect's Guide to Migrating Changes, which is essentially what we're doing, for deployments. So head over to there, and there's lots more resources on architect.salesforce.com about release management, about governance. Okay, so release cadences and all those other good things about process, which is really important because tools support process and process support people. Okay. A few more videos that I've done. So World Tour, there's a few videos there on the left-hand side. If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll find more videos. And for those of you who are programmers, who are developers, who are like, I want to create my own bash script to deploy using SFDX CLI. That's great. There's another presentation similar to this, but it's a longer one, and that explains all about the CLI and scripting. And I'm not going to go into each link on this particular slide too much, but you've got your Trailhead. Don't forget your communities as well. So I'm going to call out that if you are using something like GearSet or Capado, they've got vibrant communities around the processes and their products as well. So for GearSet, we have got DevOpsLaunchpad.com, which is an awesome site. And for Capado, they've got their community and similar to AutoRabbit as well. Okay. There's a few Salesforce Live videos. And of course, the help pages have the official kind of admin style pages on how to create a sandbox and things like that. Okay, I haven't got information from Salesforce Plus yet. It's our new streaming platform. But if you head over to Salesforce Plus, I'm sure there's a few videos on there as well. Maybe in the developer space and ALM and DevOps. And with that, Ripon, I think we are pretty much running on track for time. We can open the floor for questions. So, Ripon, do you want to do the honors?